The commander walked up to the screen without a folder. That was the first thing I didn't like. Colonel Reynolds usually loved paper. He brought maps, satellite photos, mission lists, and names of people we were supposed to save or remove. But that morning, his hands were empty. Behind him was a frozen security image. A night sky, a mountain valley, a concrete complex below, and a white flash cutting through the clouds so bright it looked like someone had turned on a second sun. We sat in a windowless briefing room. 8 people, my team. Rapid Response Unit Fang 6. I was the team leader. Captain Evan Cole. 37 years old, 16 operations, 2 of them officially never happened, 3 I still couldn't talk about, even in my sleep. To my left was Sergeant Maya Hart, our medic. Next to her, Thomas Reed, engineer in explosives. Banks stood against the wall with heavy weapons. Lewis and Garcia were our assault pair. Owen Price handled comms and drones, and the last man was Dr. Nathan Crow. Not military, a scientist. That was the second thing I didn't like. When they send a scientist in with a special operations team, the mission is not just to destroy something. It means someone upstairs hopes to bring something back. Colonel Reynolds turned off the lights. The video started. We saw the Aurora Complex officially. It was a deep atmosphere monitoring station. Unofficially, it was a research facility built inside a mountain in northern Wyoming. 3 surface buildings, underground levels, a radio telescope, labs, living quarters, a vehicle hangar, and an old mine system under the eastern wing. On the video, the object entered the atmosphere at an angle, leaving a green-white trail behind it. It didn't look like a normal meteor. A normal meteor burns and disappears. This one fell too slowly, as if it was choosing where to land. It struck the northeast wing of the complex, not the mountain, not the forest, the building. Reynolds froze the video. This happened 9 hours ago. The object punched through the laboratory roof and continued 2 levels down. Communication was lost 7 minutes after impact. Before that, we received 4 messages. The screen changed. First message, impact in sector C3, structural damage. Second message, biological activity inside the object. Third message, personnel must not approach the crater. Fourth message, it imitates voices. After that, nothing. I looked at the colonel. What does biological activity mean? We don't know. What does imitates voices mean? We don't know. How many people are inside? 127. No confirmed evacuation. Maya exhaled softly. Are we going in to rescue survivors? The colonel looked at her. Your priority is threat containment. She did not answer right away. That is not an answer. It is the only answer I have. The next image came from an internal camera. A laboratory corridor. Red emergency light. On the floor was a black stone the size of a small car. Its surface looked glassy, but thin cracks ran along the sides and pale fibers pushed out of them, like roots or veins. In the next frame, a man in a white protective suit stood beside it. In the third frame, he was on his knees. In the fourth, the camera dissolved into static. Reynolds shut off the monitor. You enter through the Western Service tunnel. Main gates are locked. Backup power is active. The air is currently breathable, but you will stay masked. Orders? I asked. Find the object. Determine whether it is a threat outside the complex. If possible, destroy it. If not, activate Sterile Dawn. Reed looked up. What is Sterile Dawn? I understood from the colonel's face. Demolition of the complex, I said. Complete destruction of the Aurora facility. You will have 20 minutes to evacuate after activation. And if we don't make it? The colonel said nothing. 40 minutes later, we were in the air. The helicopter flew low over the mountains. Through the armored glass, the world was gray, snow, rock, pine forest, clouds, and broken shadows. Nobody talked. Dr. Crow stared at his tablet. I stared at him. Doctor. He looked up. Do you know something we weren't told?
I know many things you weren't told.
Was that supposed to make me feel better? No. I leaned closer. If you get in the way, I'll leave you behind the first locked door. Crow looked at me calmly.
Captain, if I'm right, your people are already part of an event much larger than a rescue operation.
What does that mean? He turned off the tablet. It means the meteor may not have been a rock. The helicopter shook. The pilot said, we were approaching the facility. A minute later, I saw Aurora. The complex lay on the mountainside like a wounded animal. Concrete buildings stuck out of the snow. The radio telescope dome was cracked open. Black smoke rose from the northeast wing, but there was no fire. We landed 400 meters from the Western Service entrance. Snow cracked under our boots. The wind carried the smell of ozone, burned plastic, and something else. Something sweet. Something wrong. I raised my weapon. Fang 6, moving in. The service tunnel was narrow, concrete, with pipes along the ceiling. Emergency lamps glowed every few meters, staining the walls a dirty red. The floor was wet, not with blood. Condensation. It was strangely warm inside, like a basement near a boiler room. 50 meters in, we found a security helmet. It was sitting on the floor facing the wall. Beside it was a pistol. Full magazine, safety off, no man. We moved on. The control center monitors were still alive. Some showed static. Some showed empty corridors. One was frozen on the cafeteria. Overturned chairs, spilled coffee, a blinking light. But there were no people. Not one. 127 people had vanished so quietly it felt less like evacuation and more like erasure. Price sat at the console.
Systems damaged, but I can try to pull the last logs.
Crow stopped in front of a monitor.
Captain.
I looked. It showed the laboratory wing. The crater. The black stone. But now something like pale tissue had grown around it. Fibers covered the floor, the walls, the tables, the equipment. They stretched from the meteor to vents, doors, and cables. Something moved in the center. Not a body, more like a mass. A dense gray shape, human-sized, wet and shining, it pulsed slowly. Like a heart.
It's growing.
What is it?
An incubator.
You said that too confidently.
Crow did not answer.
Then the internal speakers came alive.
A woman's voice whispered through the ceiling. Help us, please. We're in the biosector.
It's outside the door. Maya turned toward the map.
Price looked up.
I have 5 thermal signatures in there.
Alive?
Close enough.
The voice came again.
Please, we can hear you, Captain Cole.
My blood went cold. None of us had used my name on internal comms.
The voice grew softer.
Evan, please.
It said my name the way my mother used to say it. She had been dead for 6 years. Banks took his weapon off safe.
I hate this place.
We went to the biosector. Not because we believed the voice, because Price had thermal signatures. And because if there were real people in there, I couldn't leave them to die, just because the thing knew how to talk. The closer we got to the impact zone, the more the complex changed. First, moisture appeared on the walls, then thin gray threads. They ran along corners, wrapped around pipes, and disappeared into vents. When our lights touched them, they tightened slightly. We reached the biosector door. There were handprints on the inside of the glass. A lot of them. Too many. Some were dragged upward as if people had tried to climb the door. Maya checked the panel.
Door is locked.
5 signatures inside, no movement. Open it, I said. Reed connected to the panel. He didn't finish. Someone knocked from the other side. 3 times, very calmly. Garcia raised his weapon.
Who's there?
I turned sharply. I said nobody answers, but it was too late. From behind the door came Garcia's voice, only not our Garcia. Same tone, same accent, but slower.
Who's there?
The door opened by itself. Inside was darkness. Our flashlights revealed overturned tables, broken containers, and hanging cables. 5 people in protective suits lay on the floor. Thermal signatures. They were alive, but not the way they should have been. Their chests rose and fell in perfect rhythm. All 5 breathing as one. Their eyes were open. They stared at the ceiling without blinking. Maya stepped forward. One of them turned its head. Too fast. It looked at Garcia and said in his voice,
Who's there?
Then all 5 sat up at the same time. Not like people, like puppets lifted by the same string. They opened their mouths. What came out was not a scream. It was radio static. Hundreds of voices at once. The door behind us began to close. Banks fired into the mechanism. Reed threw a charge on the hinges, and the blast tore the door from its track. In the chaos, we lost Lewis. A gray tendril shot out of the vent above him. It wrapped around his armor and yanked him toward the ceiling. Banks fired upward. The tendril snapped. Lewis hit the floor. Maya rushed to him, but something moved out of the darkness. That was the first time we saw the creature clearly. It was roughly human height, but not fully human in shape. Its body was long and gray, like wet stone. The skin was smooth, almost translucent in places. Dark lines moved beneath it like cables or veins. It had 4 limbs, but the joints bent in the wrong directions. The arms were too long. The fingers ended in thin, divided tips like sensitive feelers. The head was almost empty. No eyes, no nose, only a vertical slit where a mouth should have been. When it turned toward us, that slit opened and Lewis's voice came out. Back. Banks opened fire. Bullets struck the creature and tore pieces of gray tissue away, but it didn't fall. Its body rebuilt itself in front of us, sealing the damage under a smooth new film. Read through a thermal charge. White fire filled the lab. The creature backed away. It didn't scream. It didn't rush us. It retreated. It was learning. We dragged Lewis into the corridor. He was alive, but his armor was crushed. He grabbed my sleeve. It was in my head. It was looking for shape. Captain. It's still small. Then the lights went out. For 1 second, the corridor was black. When emergency power returned, Lewis was gone. Only his broken locator remained on the floor. Garcia shouted his name and ran back. From the darkness, Lewis's voice answered. Here. Don't listen, I said. But he had already taken a step. Then another. A figure walked out. At first, I thought it was Lewis. But it wasn't. The creature had changed. It was taller now. It had grown an imitation of armor from its own tissue. The head was longer, and 2 dark depressions had appeared where eyes should be. It wore the outline of Lewis, but like a bad memory of a man.
The creature followed us. Not constantly. It appeared in cameras behind lab glass at the end of corridors. Each time it looked a little different. First gray and smooth, then armored. Then with dark shining points where eyes should be. Then it learned to stand upright, then to open doors, then to speak with several voices at once. It was not just hunting us. It was collecting us. Every person it touched became material, not just flesh. Voice, movement, memory, fear. It's becoming us. No. It's becoming what it finds useful in us. We reached the central elevator. We needed to get down to the geothermal level and activate sterile dawn manually. The elevator was dead. Reed opened the emergency shaft. Price sent a drone down. The screen showed a ladder, pipes, concrete walls. Then something at the bottom looked up. Garcia's face. But the eyes were too far apart. The mouth smiled wrong. From below came Garcia's voice. Captain, path is clear. Banks looked at me. I'll go first. No. Captain, I'm the heaviest. If it's down there, I can hold it. I said no. He smiled. You always say that. And he climbed down. Halfway down, the ladder shifted. The metal softened like wax. Gray fibers grew from the shaft wall and wrapped around the rungs. From below, the creature climbed up. Now it was nearly 7 feet tall. Plates like insect armor had grown across its back. Its arms arms were longer, its fingers thinner. Across its chest were foreign fragments, a piece of protective suit, a broken armor plate, a security badge. It was incorporating everything it found. Banks fired almost point blank. The creature climbed through the bullets. Banks looked at me one last time. Captain, go. He pressed the detonator. The explosion broke the ladder. When the smoke cleared, Banks was gone. But from the dark below, his voice came back. Go. Go. Go.
We found another way through an old mining gallery under the eastern wing. A narrow, wet tunnel reinforced with wooden beams. Gray fibers covered parts of the walls. Price kept trying to restore outside communication. I'm catching the signal, same pulse, every 11 minutes.
Can you jam it?
I can try. He connected his transmitter to a wall panel, his screen filled with words. Price. Price.
Price.
Then his radio spoke in the voice of a little girl.
Daddy?
It's dark in here. That's not her, I said. Price stared at the screen.
I know.
But his hands were shaking. The gray fibers on the wall moved. They wrapped around his wrist and pulled him toward the panel. The screen flashed white. For 1 second, all of our radios spoke with his voice.
It is transmitting.
Reed cut the fibers. Price fell. When Maya turned him over, he looked at us and spoke with a voice that was not his own.
It is not calling. It is answering.
Then his eyes closed. Price's signal disappeared. The geothermal level was hot. Pipes lined the walls, steam hissed from valves, the floor vibrated. Gray fibers covered almost everything. Reed found the activation node.
I need 5 minutes.
You have 2. Crow stared at the fibers.
It's building an antenna.
What? The complex, the radio telescope. The geothermal loop, the cables. It's using all of it as a transmitter.
To call someone?
Crow slowly shook his head.
No. To say the path is open.
The wall in front of us split open. Not the concrete, the tissue covering it. The creature stepped out. Its final form was almost human. That made it worse. It stood upright, tall, dry, long-necked with stretched limbs. Organic armor covered its body. Its face was smooth and gray with 2 black lidless eyes. Its mouth was a thin vertical slit. When it spoke, I heard everyone. Lewis.
Garcia.
Banks.
Price.
My mother. And my own voice.
Do not close the door.
Reed shouted. Done. The panel turned red. Confirm sterile dawn protocol. I moved toward it. So did the creature. Maya fired first. Reed threw his last charge under the pipes. The blast tore open a steam line. White heat hit the creature, and for the first time it made something like a sound of pain. But pain did not last long. It changed again. The skin along its back opened, releasing thin, transparent tendrils. It stretched taller. In Lewis's voice, it said, "Help me."
Not today.
Maya shot it in the face. The creature threw her against the wall. I started toward her. She saw it and shook her head.
Panel, finish it.
Reed was already entering the code. Then Crow stepped between Reed and the creature. "It didn't come here to kill us, Captain. It came to see if we could be used." "For what?" Crow looked at the creature.
For the ones coming after it.
He smashed a black container against the floor. White cold spread across the fibers. They blackened and shrank. Crow had time to say one word. Now. Reed hit the button. System activated. 20 minutes to sterilization. We ran through steam and red light. Reed, Maya, and me. Crow did not make it out. When I looked back, the creature stood among the blackened fibers. It was no longer chasing us. It was looking up, as if it heard something we could not. Then it smiled, not with a human mouth, with a slit that opened too wide. In Crow's voice, it said, "They can see now." We reached the western tunnel 4 minutes before detonation. The helicopter lifted us as the mountain began to shake. The Aurora Complex folded into itself. The radio telescope collapsed. The building sank. White steam and black dust burst from the cracks. From above, it looked as if the mountain had closed its mouth. The report said the object was destroyed. The biological threat was eliminated. The operation was a partial success. Partial. 3 days later, they showed me the final signal. It had left Aurora seconds before the explosion. It was not a message. It was a confirmation. 3 translated words appeared on the screen. World compatible. Then they showed me deep space. At first, it was only stars. Then the analysts zoomed in. Between the stars was a shadow. Not a planet, not a ship. Something too large for the mind to accept. And there were others beside it. Smaller, but still enormous. They were moving toward Earth, slowly, calmly, because now they knew the way. Last night, my radio turned on by itself. First static, then Banks's voice.
Captain.
Then Maya's voice.
They're close.
Then my own voice.
Open the door.
When the static died, one word remained in the room. Quiet.
Almost gentle.
Compatible.